Hello lovelies, today we are going to be making the print holder. I hope you enjoy and make something fun. So first up, I'm going to show you the original print holder that I made. I made it originally so when I go to cons, like for instance I live in Michigan and Detroit has a anime convention once per year. I made it specifically so I'd have it for actually being able to hold the prints and not have them bent and things to that nature. So that's what I made it for. So now we're just going to make a smaller one out of a book. So first we are going to dissect our book. You might want to look away if you don't like seeing the book cut because it is going to be cut apart. Next we are going to get our cover ready, just using some double-sided tape and then some actual glue to glue it on, just to make sure it stays. And I'm sorry, I keep saying this is like my first voiceover, so I'm not quite used to this, but I just want to make sure that it stays and is stuck. I don't want it coming up. Now I don't really like to touch glue, so I'm using a finger cover to do it. I can touch glue. I'm not a glue snob or anything, but I prefer not to touch it. So you'll see me using this is my first time thinking of doing it this way, and it worked out great. But the funny part is I keep struggling with my glue because I'm trying to get all of it out of there, and it's being very stubborn and fighting me and not wanting to come out of the bottle. So eventually I will get annoyed and move on to a new bottle, and we will have happier days. But for now, I'm going to struggle with this bottle to get all the glue out of it. And using the double-sided tape really helped. You can see that I messed up a little bit because it's supposed to be evenly spaced on each side, and it's not. But it's okay, it's not the end of the world. We can still fix it because it still folds over enough for me when I actually put the paper on on the inside. So it's all good. So still using the empty bottle. See, I'm fighting, stabbing, just trying to get all the glue out, and it's not wanting to come out. It's quite annoying, but I got through it. When I went to the back cover, I was like, no, I'm done. I just got a new bottle because it was too much. So we got the spine in now, and now we're going to be doing the back cover. That's the last part. So see how much more easier. Actually, no, I think this is still the bad bottle, but I might have been squeezing it a little bit harder. Yeah, I think this is still the bad bottle because I'm going to just take the head off of the bad bottle and just squeeze out the glue. I should be, yep, now, okay. I was like, no, I remember doing that. Okay, there we go. Now I'm just getting all the glue. And then I was afraid for a second because I'm like, oh no, now it's a lot of glue. So I was like, did I squeeze too much out? But it's okay, none of it seeped through, which is what I was afraid of, because you don't want to, of course, have glue sleeping. I did get it on my table. That was a little annoying, but it's all okay. I've cleaned it up since then. But it did come out, and it was not too much. I was able to actually get it out, spread it, and get it on there, and have no issues. Now I am going to just cut the corners. Well, first I'm measuring just to make sure that my inside panels are the right height and width. I believe it was 5 3/4 and 8 3/4 is the measurement. Yes. So I just wanted to make sure I measured that. Of course, it's going to depend on the book you're using, but for me specifically, it was 5 3/4 and 8 3/4. But I am just making sure I cut my corners so I can make it a little bit easier when I fold it over, so I can line up and wrap better. So like you can see the side, it's not too bad on this side. This side has more on the left than the right, but it's okay because once I put the double-sided tape and the glue, this is the new bottle. I'm not fighting with the old bottle anymore. This is the new bottle. It folded over just fine. And there was enough. Okay, I'm sorry, incorrect. There was more on the right side than the left. But as you just saw when I folded it over, it was perfectly fine. It was more than enough to fold. I was a little bit afraid. I thought it wasn't going to be enough. And I'm like, oh no, that's not good. But it worked out, so it's all good. So just gluing and making sure I have enough glue to go on both sides so it folds over and it's not coming up before we put the panels down. And now we're going to do the top side, and then we'll move on to the bottom side. This, again, this is my first voiceover, so I'm just trying to make sure that I keep up with what's actually happening so no one gets confused. I had to move a little bit of glue in the corner so we can make sure that the corner stayed stuck down. I'm sorry. And now I'm kind of finagling so I can get the top. I put the double-sided tape as well as the glue a little too high on this one, which was an accident, but it wasn't the end of the world because it still needed to be glued anyway, so it was fine. But you can see where the tops of the glue little mountains that I just made are still poking up and showing. So I was like, but since we're putting a panel over it, it doesn't really matter. It's not the end of the world. And now we're moving on to the paper. So now we're gonna make our panels. So with our panels, this book needed 6 sheets of paper, 2 for the front and back panel, and then 4 for the 2 dividers for front and back. Now you don't have to do this. This is completely optional because you could just put in regular paper, or what I will use, you'll see me using, is a file folder. You can literally just put the file folder in. You really don't actually have to do all of this, but it's pretty, so we're doing it. That's why I'm doing it specifically. And then the cutoffs, I'm going, because I sell bookmarks, and I am going to use those and turn those into bookmarks to put in my shop. So we're using all of our pieces except for like the really, really small pieces that you really can't do anything with. Those pieces we do have to let go, but the rest of it was used. So now I have my front and back panel, and I'm so sorry how it cuts out. My camera stopped recording, so it cut out. So that's why I just showed you really quick what the back panels on looked like, because I did not get footage of me gluing it. So I apologize. Now we're going to do our dividers. So the dividers would be the same as the internal cover, which would be the 5 by 3/4 and 8 by 3/4. And we just need to cut 2 down so we have front and back. So this is going to be one of them. And then I'm going to do the back. And then I'm going to do the other panel. I believe I cut it down before I start gluing. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I'm right, but okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, cut them all down, and then we will get it glued on. Now this, unfortunately, I left this in so you can see I made a mistake, but I cut it too short, unfortunately, but it's okay. So I had to get a new sheet to cut down for the back, but it's okay. We can still utilize that for something else. We're crafters, we can figure it out, but I just wanted you to see that I do make mistakes, and unfortunately I made one, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world, I promise. So now I am just lining them up and then gluing them down with the double-sided tape, because we really don't need wet glue for this, because once they're in the book, there's not really too much movement. There's more sliding in and out of the prints than anything, so we really don't need to not super glue, but wet glue this as well. Now you can, of course, if you want to, but you don't have to. It's not necessary. So now I am working on the second panel, and the front is, this paper is so pretty. I'm so glad I have it. And now that's the back of the front panel. So now this panel, or divider I should say, is done. So they're both done. Now you might not have seen this either because it cut out. So I made those what are they called, accordion folds for the panels. It's 5 3/4 tall, and I believe it's about, I made it 2.5 inches wide. It wasn't enough, I needed more, so I actually had to add, you'll see later, I had to add I think about 2 more inches to it. We'll say 3. So and all you need to do is just score it at the 1/2 inch line and then fold it. That's all you really need to do. And then you can see I'm using double-sided tape for the dividers, and then I'm also using wet glue, because since this is the actual structure of the book, you want to make sure that that's not going anywhere. So I would most definitely suggest, even if you have strong double-sided tape like I do here, I would most definitely suggest putting in some wet glue just to give it that extra strength so you don't have it coming out. So that would suck if you were at your con and your print was in there and then all of a sudden your panel was gone. It would take the print with it. That would be terrible. So make sure you can make it as strong as possible. So now I am doing the other side before I insert it into the book, but I wanted to make sure I didn't put it in backwards, which is why I lifted it up. Because at first I almost put it in backwards and that would have just been so embarrassing. So I'm so glad I thought about that. Like, no, you need to lift this up. So, that's being taken care of right now. And so this is before I realized that this, the accordion portion, the folds were too short as far as width, not as far as height. And I needed more because, as you can see, folding it looks great. We got our 2 panels, awesome. In the book, look at that. There's so much space. It's like, okay. Alrighty then. So I'm double checking like, no, I'm seeing what I'm seeing. So this is where I'm like, okay, I need more panels. Thankfully, I did another project with the original one that I made, still had some panels left over from that. So all I did was take those and cut them down to the height that I needed, and cut them down to the width that I needed, which is, like I said, about 2 inches, I believe, maybe 2.5 inches. So in total, we're doing a total of 5 inches. That was in this book, which is a 2-inch spine. So what I would recommend is when you're doing your accordion portion, just double your spine width and then you'll have enough. Now I'm cutting down a 1/3 divider because now since I have more space, it would make sense to have a 1/3 divider. Because how it's going to line up, one is going to go towards the back panels of each book, which is still usable space, but it's going to be kind of tight. So it's like, now it kind of seems like it was pointless to put the panels, like the front and back panels in, because these dividers cover it. But it's not the end of the world. It still works. It's still a usable print holder. You just can't see the inside covers that I made. So that part is a little sad, but it's okay. It's still usable, so it's not the end of the world. But I know it's there, and anyone who watches this video will know it's there. So I've just decorated, and I got to use some cutoffs from the paper that I was already using, so I didn't use any extra paper, which was great. So see, we're already using our supplies that we started using from the same project. So now I am just trying to figure out how I need to connect these two to make it make sure it works. So I just double-sided taped one side and put the wet glue on, and then I connected the two. But then it was still a little too wide, and I didn't want it to, because as you can see, it's flopping a little bit. So to strengthen it, I just closed one of the folds, and that made it better. So when it goes into the book, it doesn't cause any shifting or anything like that. So that's one side, and then I'm going to add the divider in before doing the second side and adding the accordion to the other side. So I'm just going to let that play for a second. How are we doing today? It's Saturday, and it's snowing here in Michigan, which is quite unfortunate because I am not ready for the cold, nor am I ready for the snow. Even though I work from home, it doesn't matter. I don't want to deal with it because it's cold and it's unnecessary, and people drive like crazy people when it's in the winter, and I just don't want to deal with those problems. So wherever you're from, how's the weather? Is it also snowing, or do you have the sun? Okay, so again, my camera cut out again. I'm so sorry. So this is after everything's glued in and dried and everything like that. So I'm just showing you that a 5x8 print can fit in, a 4x6 print can fit in, and a 5x7 print can fit inside this container. You have 2 sections, so you can fill her on up and enjoy your print holder. Thanks.